This is our review of the new Mustang Dark Horse. It's got a drift brake and some big screens on the interior. But what we really want to know is what changes did Ford have to make to allow the car to be competitive in GT3. So let's get this thing in the air and see what's changed. So this is it. This is going to be our review of the 2024 Mustang Dark Horse. We're going to go over all of the features of the car that seems like no other reviewers have been doing and trying to give an unbiased approach to the experts, if you want to call us that, people who have experience at least with the last generation of the S550, with between the GT350 and our track car, and now the Dark Horse. Now, you're probably wondering why we're starting out below the car. Well, these just happen to be the features that can't be measured on a dyno. For example, on the side we have our oil cooler. After this cooler, we have NACA ducting that goes straight to the brakes, two in fact, including venting in the fender liner to relieve pressure, and massive calipers. On top of that, we have now gone back to the normal drain plug bolt rather than the quick release one, the massive oil pan. We've already done our first oil change, 10 quarts, just like the old car. What seems to be a lot more shielding on the bottom of the car, creating almost like a BMW style flat bottom using these panels. We now have, in this car at least, the TR3160 transmission. This happens to also have the auto rev match and the no lift shift. And two ducts that we have here that lead up right into the differential cooler, a feature that we really wish we had on our track car. Now, the big thing about this car that people seem to gloss over is that it's not really gonna shine on the dyno. That wasn't its point. And in terms of falling in the spectrum of Mustangs, this is most comparable with something like the Mach 1, when you combine a really great motor like the Coyote, great transmission like the TR3160, and you put together an excellent track car. That's what this is. Now let's not forget, this is a mass-produced car. It's a Ford Mustang and it's a first-year car. You're going to get panel gaps. You're gonna get swirl marks. But the thing is, who cares? At the end of the day, this is a car that's meant to be enjoyed. Unless you're gonna be keeping it in your garage and never looking at it again and neglecting it, you're only gonna find defects. If you are worried or concerned about this, wait for next year or 2 years from now. But the problem is, it is a mass-produced car. If you have problems like this, I mean, Porsche still has issues with orange peel, Ferrari has issues with the same thing. It's a car at the end of the day, enjoy it. So now that the boring bit is done, let's go for a drive and really see where the difference is. So it's been a week. We've put over 2,128 miles on this car. With 100 miles on the car, we took it to Linear Raceway. There was a drift event where we met up with our friend David Patterson, who did a review on the car. He loved it. I wasn't so happy with the car when we first got it. Nobody's talking about this, but the horsepower figures that we see, there is a break-in process. There is a break-in process that they're not telling you about that I think is more so ECU rather than motor. The reason why I think this, spoke to our friends over at Stita. They dynoed the car at 380 horsepower at 100 miles. At 300 miles, it did 408, a huge jump. And the thing is that we wouldn't be asking this question, we would have never talked to them if we didn't feel it ourselves. At the track, it almost felt like the car was hesitant to put more power down. But the next day, after putting more miles on the car, surpassing right around the 300 mile mark, the car really opened up and we were able to drive the mountains in the car. And that's where I really started to find out where the differences are between this and the S550. Nobody's mentioning this, but this is essentially an S550 that went to college. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So this car features the no lift shift, which is great. With the TR3160, I really don't think anybody should be getting a Dark Horse if you're not going to get the manual. Now, if I was in an S550, I might have killed myself by then. This car is really great because it kind of mitigates the amount of danger it puts you in. The no lift shift through the corners doesn't upset the chassis one bit. It's wildly impressive. Getting onto the power, something like this, which I'm about to demonstrate, first gear, steering input, and just essentially launching the car. And the car just goes. The S550, you would have 100% had some form of oversteer. This car just doesn't want to lose traction in the corners. It's wildly impressive, and when it does, it stays predictable. The Magna Ride is nice, but this car has too many things to fulfill. It has to be a good... Hey, bucko. It has too many positions to fulfill. It has too many things to be. Has to be a great daily driver, but yet a good sports car. Has to be comfortable, yet still engaging. And with the last S550, I think we saw over 1 million units sold. And for you to have so many expectations from a car, you're going to lose in some places. That's why it's such a good platform to serve as a blank canvas. I mean, that's what we did with our last car. Bunch of S550s we see as drift cars. Bunch of S550s we see as track cars. People who use it as rental cars. So this had to stay true to that. Now, the criticisms that I have when it comes to driving. You feel the weight. You really do. We dropped the car with Steeda lowering springs. It's not MCS. I want to keep the Magna Ride for as long as we can for testing purposes. If not, the car would be on something like MCS coilovers by now, which I'm sure would help tremendously with the steering. This specific car that we're in doesn't have the handling pack. So we have 255s in the front, better P0s, not the same 2015 P0s that were absolutely awful. 275s in the rear. The things that I don't like, the apexes don't fit on the car. 18s do not fit on this car. It is a bummer. When I buy wheels, I buy wheels to fit the tires that I want to use. Unfortunately, 18-inch 305s will not work on this car with something like an Apex EC7. But we're working on it. We've already designed a wheel that we're working on that fits and clears the front calipers on this. Open lug design, really nice. That'll allow us to use the tires that we want on track and keeping it square, being able to rotate the car while only having to use a 25mm spacer in the front. The steering. There's no feedback in the steering. It sucks. It really does. It feels too light. You might as well have your eyes closed. It feels like a steering wheel from a racing simulator, like a Fanatic DD, but in the loading screen. Just enough resistance for you to feel like you're doing something, but no feedback at all. I hate it. But the car does make up for it and its intelligence. It seems like the main differences that we're seeing are really with assists, being able to no-lift shift in corners, being able to brake without the fear of snap oversteer. These sort of driving characteristics that nobody seems to be talking about are really what are making this car really special. Don't kill me, but I think that this car around a track could be faster than the Mach 1, could be faster than the GT350, just based off those merits. It doesn't make as much power as everybody expects it to make, but do we really care? It feels fast enough for a stock car. It pulls nice and hard, really linear throttle curve. And from a dig, we'll find out what it does. 4.6 seconds, let's go. That's like Ford Taurus maybe, but let's see what the 60 to 0 is. That was 100 feet. These aren't the Motor Trend times. These are not the Motor Trend distances. Now, one thing that I do find really annoying about this car is that once you throw a helmet on, I know, first world problems. Once you throw a helmet on, you really can't gauge what RPM you're in. In our track car, I have intentional exhaust leaks that let us hear the car from the inside of the cabin, I have a solution. Now we can hear that American V8. Ah, yes. That's a free mod. So while we're here, I will go over how you can mess with the exhaust modes. It's different than the last car. The last car used to have toggles. That was great. You also had the modes on the steering wheel. The problem is, unless you create what they call a My Mode, you cannot automatically put the car in quiet mode. Here we are in quiet mode. Big difference. So that's on the list. We're going to be making a rear seat delete. Also, I will show you how to make this car pop. So here's how you make the car pop. Using no lift shift, we're going to bring it up to red line. Don't shift. Clutch in, and that's it. Stay in the gear. It's for the BMW boys. Now the things that I want to talk about when it comes to seating and the things that you touch. The steering wheel. Steering wheel's okay. I like the flat bottom. It's very good. It's better than the 2015 rubber steering wheel that you got in the normal cars. But you get a little bit of this fake carbon fiber trim. The buttons are much larger. It's nice. The seating position. You sit really high. At least it feels like it. The 350, I think, has excellent seating position. And then for this car, at least, you have two seating options. You either have the worst Mustang seats, which are the surfboards. Those are the Recaros that you might see, I think, in the handling pack or the premium pack version of this car. They're absolutely the worst thing ever. If you can, avoid getting them. The best seats on the S550 has been the GT350 seat. The best seat for this car is this one that I'm sitting in right now, the non-premium seat, the cloth one that doesn't get 100 degrees and doesn't get wrinkly. It's fantastic. The only way it could get more comfortable is if it massaged my back, and it doesn't, but it's fine. This car also has lane keep assist. Why am I mentioning it? Most of the people watching this video might not use it. The reason why I mention it is that it's not annoying. It doesn't have something as silly as auto start stop. I don't even think it's available on the automatics. But you can turn this on and off. It stays off by default, which I love. So this was it. This was our review of the new Mustang Dark Horse. This car is going to be making a lot of appearances on our channel, as it's going to be main development vehicle for all products that are going to be releasing from 777. So if you enjoyed that and you want to keep up with us, subscribe below, and yeah, we're going to get to product development.